The morning hadn't fully awakened yet, but a milky layer of light had slipped through the window curtains and spread across the room. By the wardrobe, the mother gently took down a hanger, dusted off the blue uniform, and straightened it. Little Zainab, sitting on the bed, was fixing the ribbons on her braids. Her eyes held the sparkle of going to school, and on her lips was that smile which only children wear, innocent, carefree, filled with hope. The mother poured cool water into a small bottle, packed peanut cookies and slices of apple into the lunchbox, and then softly said, "Did you put your lesson notebook in your bag? Miss Hajra will take dictation today." Zainab nodded and slung her bag over her shoulder. Outside the gate, the same familiar morning sounds filled the street, the chirping of birds. Somewhere in the distance, the milkman's horn, and the neighborhood women placing fresh vegetables at every doorstep. A slight chill lingered in the air. As soon as the school van's yellow light appeared around the corner and stopped by their gate, the mother placed her hands on her daughter's shoulders and prayed, "May Allah keep you safe." Zainab hugged her mother spontaneously. This was their daily ritual, a small touch, a great protection. At that moment, a jeep slowly passed from the opposite street. Inside were the respected neighbors of the area. Ibrahim Traore, simple clothes, serious eyes, but a constant kindness on his face. Zainab hesitated but waved her hand. "Assalamu alaikum, uncle." Her voice carried a soft joy. The jeep stopped, Traore rolled down the window, and with a smile replied, "Wa alaikum assalam, brave daughter. Do you remember today's lesson?" Zainab nodded with a small gesture of her head, gathering full confidence. "Yes, always wear the seatbelt and greet the driver, uncle." Traore's smile widened. "Well done. And one more thing. If any friend hasn't worn the seatbelt, remind them gently. Bravery isn't just for yourself, it's also for others." The mother softly added, "Beta, if there's noise on the way, just stay seated. Don't put your hand out of the window." Zainab said yes and stepped onto the van's stairs. Once inside, she fastened her small seatbelt tightly around her waist. Her classmate Aisha, sitting beside her, laughed and said, "You always put your seatbelt on first every day." Zainab shyly replied, "Uncle Ibrahim said, accidents don't ask before coming." The driver glanced in the mirror. "Are all the children seated? Seatbelts on?" From the back came a collective, "Yes." The van doors closed and it started moving with a gentle jolt. The mother stood by the roadside, waving for a long while. Traore drove forward, but kept his gaze on the van for a moment. This was a habit. He had a special love for children. For years, he had worked with city volunteers to straighten traffic lines during school hours, stand on zebra crossings, and sometimes personally help children cross the street. He knew that the true pride of a city lies in the safe smiles of its children. As they left the street, the city began to wake. The newspaper vendor opened his bundle. The last waves of the call to prayer from the mosque minaret dissolved into the air, and light clouds began drifting across the sky with the morning breeze. Traore placed a file on the dashboard. Today he had a small donation for the hospital's children's ward, a follow-up for a campaign in collaboration with a local NGO to install panic beacons in vans. In his mind, one plan always remained. Road safety is not just a rule, it's a culture. It is built with small daily decisions, seatbelts, speed, and care for others. The van was filled with the sounds of children. Aisha pointed toward the window. "Look, that big mango tree." Someone behind added, "Miss told us how many types of bees come to mango flowers." These little conversations were signs of a safe journey. When children spoke freely, the driver's heart was at ease. Zainab took a sip from her bottle and sat upright, bag snugly in place. A silent prayer arose within her. The words her mother had said in the morning, she repeated to herself. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, where the dew still lingered along the roads, a motorcycle slowly stopped on the unpaved edge. The rider dusted off with his shoes, pulled out a small packet from his pocket, and began fitting it under the cover of a gutter. His hands moved as if performing a routine task, his face expressionless, eyes dull. The fine wire of the remote trigger disappeared into the dust. A passing woman assumed he was fixing a tool or adjusting glass. In the city's chaos, small crimes often go unnoticed. and major accidents stem from these small oversights. Traore's Jeep reached the main road, and he greeted a traffic police officer, speaking for a few seconds. "On the school route, vans will follow the new lane today. Place drums at the bend there." The officer immediately sent a message over the radio. These were routine measures, yet the city's safety rests on such small moments. He checked his watch. It was nearly 9. Files were reviewed. The points for today's meeting were recalled. But in a corner of his heart, the morning's small moment of security still resonated. "Assalamu alaikum, uncle," and the click of the seatbelt. A small click holding a lifetime of life. The van was now passing through greenery. The road was new with small fields on either side, and electricity poles stood in rows at regular intervals. The driver, uncle, lowered the volume on the radio. "Children, today we'll take a slightly different route. Stay quiet. The destination is near." Laughter from the back seats faded, and conversations turned into whispers. Zainab unconsciously ran her hand over her seatbelt. It was tight. That phrase came back to her. Bravery isn't just for yourself, it's also for others. And with a half-shy smile, she checked Aisha's seatbelt as well. Aisha playfully stuck out her tongue, but with grateful eyes said, "Okay." Amid all this, no one had thought that within an hour the city's breaths would halt, headlines would change, and siren screams would pierce the air. But the streets of fate are never straight. Somewhere, some bend, some hidden chasm, some unseen hand leaves its mark. And then the question arises, who wakes first, danger or the awareness of safety? The van moved toward the next bend where the road slightly sloped. The sunlight now shone fully. Traore stopped the vehicle in the parking lot of a city office, greeted the guard with a brief prayer, and once inside, checked his mobile screen. Notice from the Road Safety Committee, hospital visit schedule, and a request from a local school. It would be great if beacon kits for our vans could arrive soon. Traore replied, "I'll follow up today." Little did he know that in the next few minutes, the timely action of a tiny hand would turn that beacon into the lifeline of the city. This was the morning that was supposed to feel ordinary, but it was far from it. On one side, Zainab's innocent prayer. On the other, the silent packet hidden on the roadside. 2 lines from different worlds that were about to meet at a single point. And when they did, chaos would erupt, dust would fly, and hearts would stop for a moment. But the story didn't end there. It began where fear and awareness stand face to face. The van had now exited the city population and entered the open road. Cool gusts of air came through the windows, and the soft touch of sunlight drew golden streaks on the children's faces. Fields stretched on both sides, waves of green wheat here, mud houses and animal enclosures in the distance. The driver uncle played soft music on the radio while advising the children, "Today we take the new road. Be careful at the upcoming bend. Everyone sit quietly and no need to unbuckle your seatbelt." One of the boys sitting in the back whispered, "This new road is fast, isn't it?" Another said, "Yes, I just heard there are big trees here." Zainab kept her hand on her bag, looking out the window. She remembered Uncle Traore's words, "Always wear your seatbelt," and a strange seriousness settled in her heart. Suddenly, a black truck appeared from the front, releasing smoke and speeding, overtaking from the left. At the same time, a motorcycle from the opposite direction swerved close to the van. The driver uncle pressed the brake, but the pedal sank, like stepping into an empty crate. For a moment, his face went pale. "Children, duck down! Hold your seatbelts!" he shouted. Chaos erupted inside the van. Someone started crying. Others clung to their seats. In the confusion, Zainab saw her friend Aisha. Her seatbelt was half loose. Zainab quickly reached over and tightened it, then turned her gaze to the front of the van. There, near the driver, beneath the dashboard, an orange light flickered, the panic beacon button. This was the same button Uncle Traore had told the children about during the school visit. Without thinking, Zainab leaned forward and pressed the button. A soft beep sounded, and the light began flashing rapidly. The signal went straight to the command room, where all emergency points in the city were linked. The van was now on the slope, brakes weak, with a ditch on one side. The driver, alert, pulled the handbrake and managed to stop the vehicle scraping along the roadside. The van halted with a jolt. A few shards of glass fell inside. Some children clung to each other in fear. Heavy breaths and muffled sobs filled the air. Beneath the van, embedded in the dust, was a black metallic device. Perhaps the attacker had tampered with the brake line and installed this explosive device as well, but due to a fault in the signal or trigger, it hadn't activated. If the accident had fully occurred, the outcome would have been indescribable. People ran from nearby shops. One man took a handkerchief from his shoulder and placed it on the forehead of an injured child, while another brought bottles of water. A nurse, heading to a nearby clinic, immediately came to help. She bandaged the driver's injured wrist and cleaned a small cut on one child's arm. The shouting on the road gradually faded, but the weight of fear still rested heavily on everyone's hearts. Within a few minutes, the sound of ambulances and police sirens grew nearer. The children were safely helped out of the van and seated in the shade of a roadside shop. When Zainab's mother received the news, her heart skipped a beat. But when she realized Zainab was safe, she began thanking Allah. Meanwhile, in the command room, a red dot glowed on a large screen. This was the beacon Zainab had pressed. Ibrahim Traore, who was in a meeting at the time, immediately grabbed the microphone. B7 route, school van, brake fail report. All units, immediate response. You're the field lead. Kabor, lock the signals. His voice held neither panic nor hesitation, only resolve and speed. Zainab didn't yet know that her small action was protecting not just the children in the van, but the entire city from a major disaster. But Ibrahim knew, and only one thought remained in his mind. Whoever did this will not walk free today. As soon as the panic beacon signal from the B7 route school van reached the command room, the entire atmosphere changed. On the large screen, a red dot blinked repeatedly, and the van's location tracker moved live. Ibrahim Traore swiftly left the meeting hall and entered the command room. As the door closed behind him, he said in a loud but calm voice, "Everyone listen, this is not a routine brake failure. There was an attempted attack on a children's van. We will have the mastermind in court within 24 hours. Strength is not enough. Evidence is. And remember, no crowd should be near the children. Medical team first, media later." In one corner of the command room, the commander's son received immediate instructions. Handle the field operation. Seal the accident site immediately. Remove all unnecessary personnel, and do not let a single hand touch the evidence. In another corner, Kabor, the signals intelligence expert, adjusted his headset and said, "I'm pulling call data from 3 nearby cell towers. Burner phones or suspicious signals will immediately show in the filter." A third operative was named Falcon, an undercover operative. Ibrahim gave him direct orders. Infiltrate social networks and local driver groups. Listen to conversations, note code words, and lock locations as quickly as possible. Falcon replied with a single word, "Copy." A report came in from the accident site. A metallic device was found stuck under the van. A member of the bomb squad reported over the radio, "Sir, this is an explosive device connected to a homemade RF receiver. It seems the trigger signal didn't reach, so it didn't detonate. But RDX markers are present." Ibrahim's eyes hardened for a moment. So this wasn't just a brake failure. This was a fully planned attack. Kabor's data analyst delivered the first findings. "Sir, within a single hour, 3 burner phones were communicating signals to each other from 3 different towers near the B7 route. The pattern is suspicious." Alongside this, footage from ANPR, automatic number plate recognition, showed 2 motorbikes approaching and leaving near the van. The license plates were fake. Ibrahim looked at the images of the children in the van on the screen for a moment, their faces pale, fear in their eyes. Some with clothes dust-streaked. In one picture, Zainab was sitting holding her friend's hand. That moment became personal for Ibrahim. He said softly but clearly, "We will bring the enemy out ourselves. Prepare the decoy convoy. This operation is not just a case, it is a debt to the children." At the scene, some sealed everything envelope in envelope, every glass shard, every wire and speck of dust, placing them under evidence room protocol. Media vans approached but could not cross the police line. A reporter shouted, "Mr. President, a statement?" But Ibrahim only replied, "There will be a statement when the criminal is in court." At the hospital, Zainab's mother sat with folded hands. She kept asking the nurse, "Is my child all right?" The nurse gently answered. She was brave. She pressed the SOS. The nurse told her colleague on the phone, who happened to be a liaison officer in the command room. The sentence reached Ibrahim, and he murmured with a smile, "A small hand changed a big plan." Meanwhile, Falcon reported an important lead. Messages like B7 route clean and pray is near were circulating in a local drivers group. Ibrahim told some on the channel, "We'll make Route B7 a trap. Let the enemy think he's trapping us, but in reality, we are closing him in." Kabor marked in red the short but repeated calls between the three burner phones on the signal map. Falcon said, "One of those devices is still on, and it is signaling from a spot near B7. Some ordered, 'Send plainclothes teams there. Don't make a scene.'" Ibrahim looked at everyone. "This is now the second half of the game. From now on, we will force them at every step to decide whether the next move is ours or theirs." Then he leaned toward the mic and said, "Decoy convoy, complete preparations. The real convoy will stay in hiding. We will strike on time, at the place, and at the moment." A strange tension and excitement spread through the command room. Everyone knew this was not just an operation. It was a race, against time and against faces that hid innocence but harbored enmity in their hearts. It was the second half of the morning. The sun shone fully over the city center, but inside the command room, there was a different atmosphere of darkness and secrets. Ibrahim Traore, running his finger over the map spread on the table, said, "We must step into their net, but on our terms. The enemy must believe I'm going along B7 route, and there he will move. In truth, we will be elsewhere, and that moment will be ours." Their plan was simple but lethal. The decoy convoy. This convoy would be so conspicuous that the enemy would believe it the real target. But in reality, it would be a lure, a live bait that would draw them out. Some detailed the decoy convoy. 3 SUVs, tinted glass, dummy heads inside to look like human silhouettes from a distance. Minimal security, so they think it's easy prey. Only 2 motorbike scouts would ride ahead and behind the decoy, deliberately keeping a moderate pace. The real convoy would be completely different. An ordinary cargo van with no official markings, carrying 5 QRF, Quick Reaction Force specialists, a medic, and a low-range EMP unit. This device was intended to jam the enemy's remote detonators. Both driver and commander would wear civilian clothes, carrying only concealed hand radios. The route arrangement: RF sniffer sensors had been placed by the roadside on B7 since the morning, small sensors that could sniff out remote controls, key fobs, or any suspicious RF signal. Each sniffer could alert the command room within a minute. Falcon's position. Falcon had fully immersed himself in his role that day. He sat at a corner table of a local bar from where he had a clear view outside. A small earpiece in his ear, an empty cup of tea in front of him, and local driver groups open on his phone. His aim was singular: catch any words from the enemy's handler or his men that would signal the coming attack. Around noon, the decoy convoy set off. On media, a source from an official channel leaked that President Ibrahim Traore was going to visit the affected children via the B7 route. The news spread through local social media groups within minutes. Falcon received a message on his phone: "B7 clean, prey is near." That was the code word. The target was about to arrive. Kabor checked the signal map and saw the 3 devices moving near the decoy. A device stood motionless near the manhole cover at one particularly suspicious spot, as if waiting for a trigger. Some ordered over the radio to tighten the net. "Decoy, slow down so the enemy readies himself. EMP unit, stand by." As the decoy convoy reached that spot, Kabor shouted over the wireless, "Spike hit! Signal packet received." Some immediately ordered, "EMP, now!" An operator riding in the cargo van pressed a button, and a low-range EMP pulse jammed the device by the gutter. The remote trigger was rendered useless. Escape and capture happened in the same instant. A second motorcycle with 2 people aboard suddenly accelerated and tried to flee in the opposite direction. But 2 QRF vehicles moved forward from both sides at once and formed a sandwich maneuver. The bike in the middle, both cars alongside, speed reduced, and eventually the bike stopped at the roadside. Both men were captured alive without firing a shot. Burner phones, a remote detonator, and some local currency were recovered from their bags. The phones were immediately placed in Faraday bags so that signals or data could not be erased. Upon receiving this news in the command room, Ibrahim Traore said over the radio, "Good work, some, but remember, this is only the lower link. We have to go up, the one who is giving the commands." Falcon, sitting in the bar, overheard a man on the phone say, "The trigger failed. Tell Hyena." That phrase was the password to the next phase of the game. Who was Hyena? The person leaking routes and information from the inside. Now the next step was to reach Hyena, and for that it was essential to convince the enemy that his secret was still safe. After the successful decoy convoy operation, a deep silence fell over the command room. Everyone's mind turned to the same question. Who is the insider giving the enemy accurate details of routes, convoys, and timings? Ibrahim zoomed in on the large screen to show pictures of the captured bikers' phones. These are our gold mines. If we play this correctly, these phones will lead us straight to the mastermind. Kabor's digital team immediately created memory images of the phones in the forensic lab. Every chat, every voice note, and every location history was copied to a secure server. Minutes later, a voice note surfaced instructing, "Route confirmed, convoy will depart on time, trigger point B7. The voice sounded surprisingly like a senior officer in the command room, but Ibrahim immediately noticed two words in the message that he or his close officers never used. It was a deep fake, the original voice replicated, but with a slightly unfamiliar structure in the phrasing. Ibrahim narrowed the circle of suspicion. This leak didn't come from outside. It came from within. Faces of several officers in the command room tightened. Falcon reported on the radio. "A man in the bar just said tell Hyena. Seems like a code name." This was the same handler who was passing inside information to the enemy. Honeypot plan. Ibrahim took a deep breath, smiled, and said, "Hyena will come to us if we set the right bait." He instructed Kabor to prepare a honeypot audio, fake but made to sound completely authentic, saying, "The president will depart tomorrow morning via the southern corridor. Time will not be changed. Keep the security team limited." This audio would be played only on those few channels suspected of being used for leaks, and it would be produced with deepfake technique so the listener couldn't tell the difference. The trap was set. Within a few hours, the audio was ready. Falcon confirmed from his field position that some members of the limited channel were gathered in the bar. As soon as the audio was sent on that channel, Kabor began tracing signals. Minutes later, a burner phone forwarded that audio. The signal location immediately localized. An old warehouse located on the edge of the city's industrial area. A thermal eye report quietly sent a drone over the warehouse. Thermal imaging showed 4 heat signatures inside, 2 boxes, possible repeater and detonator, 1 person continuously on the phone, and 1 armed guard. Falcon kept watch from the nearby tea stall, appearing like any ordinary customer. The financial heartbeat. Meanwhile, Kabor picked up another thread. The moment the honeypot audio was forwarded, large sums began moving across several small wallets, followed by indications of cash withdrawals. This was the heartbeat that appears in the enemy's funding chain before every major operation. The pattern made it clear that Hyena had not only sold information, but had also received substantial payment in return. Ibrahim's final instruction. Ibrahim Traore looked at everyone silently and said, "Hyena's identity is confirmed, but we will not make an arrest yet. The person he is speaking to is the real mastermind. We must catch that call live, so the evidence can be presented directly in court." He ordered some, "Prepare the team, but fire only if necessary. Hyena's phone and the call must remain intact. Falcon, stay around the warehouse and report any unusual movement. Kabor, focus on catching DNS and IP leaks before the signal drops." The tension in the command room was palpable. The light was dim. Only the blue glow from the screens lit the faces. Everyone knew this was a delicate moment. Any small mistake could make Hyena cut the call or destroy the phone. Ibrahim added one last remark. "Remember, this is the case of the girl's van. We are not just catching the enemy, we are assuring every parent that the state stands with their children." In the quiet of the night, the old warehouse in the city's industrial area stood like a lifeless building. From outside, it looked like a derelict structure with broken doors, dust-covered windows, and peeling paint. But inside, the scene was completely different. In a corner under a yellow bulb were phones, laptops, and some strange devices. 4 heat signatures, as identified by the thermal drone, were present. 2 boxes resembling a repeater and detonator, an armed guard, a person continuously on the phone, and a 4th arranging papers. Ibrahim watched all of this live from the command room. In a soft but determined voice through his headset, he said, "Remember, hyena alive and phone on. If the call drops, our plan fails." The silent entry? Some signaled his QRF team. Black uniforms, night vision goggles, low-noise flash silencers, and body cams on everyone. They moved toward the back of the warehouse, where a rusted vent grill was located. An operator slowly opened the grill, and one by one the team entered. Inside, the smell of dust and the hum of old machines filled the air. The guard stood aside smoking, and the person on the phone, Hyena, was repeating important details on his burner phone. Kaber, tracking signals from the command room, suddenly said, "Sir, there's a video call. The face is in low light, but features are clear. This is the mastermind, Kilo." The DNS leak locked his external point of presence. Once the VPN layer was removed, it was clear that Kilo was calling from a safe house near the border. Ibrahim took a deep breath. "Not yet, Let the call run as long as possible." The moment of arrest, signaled 2 operators toward the guard. One grabbed the guard's gun from behind. The other immediately held his wrist and brought him to the ground. Everything happened in an instant, silently. Hyena was startled by the slight commotion, but before he could turn off the phone, stood behind him, holding his wrist with one hand and supporting the phone with the other. Keeping the call live was essential. What is happening?" Hyena's voice trembled. Some said calmly, "Just sit for a moment. You're coming with us, and so is this phone." The evidence, the phone, was not immediately placed in a Faraday bag. Instead, a shielded line streamed the recording directly to the command room server. A few moments later, Kilo realized the scene in front of him had changed. His eyes flickered in shock, and then he cut the call. By then, however, video, audio, and data logs had already been secured. Other operators inside secured the repeaters, remote fobs, and printed route sheets into forensic bags on the table. Each bag was labeled with time, location, and signature to maintain the chain of custody. Falcon's protective action. Outside on the street, Falcon remained in plain civilian attire. She noticed a young boy approaching the warehouse, probably out of curiosity. She immediately went to him smiling. "Work is happening here. Stay back a little. Let me show you the way." The boy hesitated briefly but followed her. Falcon knew that any additional witness or unrelated person there could be dangerous. A wave of calm passed through the command room as some reported over the radio, "Hyena safe, phone on, evidence sealed, no loss." Ibrahim Traore paused for a moment. In his mind glimmered the memory of Zainab's tiny hand pressing the panic beacon. He knew everything was possible because of that single moment. He quietly said, "Good. Now, the mastermind." A controlled note was simultaneously issued to the media. "Authorities have made a significant arrest. Further developments will be announced shortly." This heartbeat was visible in the enemy's funding chain before every major operation. The pattern made it clear that Hyena had not only sold information, but had also received large payments in return. Ibrahim's final directive. Ibrahim Traore looked at everyone in silence and said, "Hyena's identity is known, but we will not arrest him yet. The person he is talking to is the real mastermind. We must catch that call live so the evidence can be presented directly in court." He ordered prepare the team, but fire only if necessary. Hyena's phone and the call both must remain intact. Falcon, stay around the warehouse and report any unusual movement. Kabor, focus on catching DNS and IP leaks before the signal drops. The pressure in the command room tightened. Lights were dim. Only the blue glow of the screens lit the faces. Everyone knew this was a very delicate moment. If even a small mistake happened, Hyena could cut the call or destroy the phone. Ibrahim added one last line. "Remember, this is the girl's van case. We are not only catching the enemy, we are assuring every parent that the state stands with their children." The night had passed, but the command room lights were still on. Ibrahim Traore looked at Kilo's profile on the big screen. the frame of the face in the dim video call, the location point obtained from the DNS leak, and a timeline chart of the financial transactions. Kabor placed a file on the table. "Sir, immediately after Hyena's arrest, there was unusual activity in Kilo's wallets. 200,000 francs moved into a dummy account. Then in 3 hops, it was withdrawn as cash. The pattern clearly shows he's changing position." Falcon reported from the field. "A cargo truck station near the border area reported a white SUV without official registration, moving suspiciously, evading checkpoints." Ibrahim decided to lay the net. He looked at some. "This is the chance. We need him alive and with all the evidence. This time the media will also watch, so the message goes out." Some immediately ordered the stop strip and escort vehicles to prepare. 2 vehicles in front, 2 in back, and a mobile command van whose body cam feed would go straight to the command room. Each officer was instructed, "No unnecessary shots. Bring the target in, alive and unarmed. Surveillance and trace." ANPR produced an image of the vehicle. The windshield had a small sticker that matched customs footage. Kabor noted, "This sticker was put on that vehicle only 2 days ago, meaning it's a new cover." A drone scout was sent to high altitude to track the vehicle's route and speed. Falcon moved ahead on the border road for ground surveillance with an old truck driver blending in like an ordinary passenger. The moment of arrest approached. In the faint morning light, the white SUV kicked up dust on the border road. As it neared a checkpoint, the front escort vehicle slowed. When the SUV changed lanes, the stop strip was suddenly deployed. Immediately, the tires screamed and the SUV came to a jarring halt. The driver panicked and hit reverse, but the rear escort quickly blocked the way. The 2 men inside raised their hands before opening the doors. Kilo's identity. The man in the front seat was the same who had appeared in Hyena's video call. The face, beard style, eye color, everything matched. Falcon came close and whispered to some, "This is him, the mastermind." Legal procedure, some announced loudly, "You are under arrest for terrorism, attempt to murder, and conspiracy to attack state installations. You have the right to consult a lawyer and remain silent." Everything was being recorded on body cams so it could be presented later in court. When handcuffing Kilo, RDX marker samples, fake passports, a satellite phone, and 3 hard drives were found in his bag. Kabor immediately cloned the satellite phone on site and pulled the last numbering. That data revealed 2 more nodes of Kilo's network. During Falcon's apprehension move, a young laborer standing nearby with his bicycle was watching everything. For a moment, his attention was drawn in, and he stepped closer. Falcon immediately went to him, patted his shoulder and said, "This is a security operation, son. Move back. There's danger ahead." The boy stepped back, but Falcon knew that protecting every such child or youth was part of the mission. Relief in the command room, when some said over the radio, "Kilo in custody, evidence sealed, no loss." A deep exhale of satisfaction spread through the command room. Ibrahim Traore picked up the mic and said, "Excellent work. The next stage is the court, and there we will win this case with evidence so no one can say we use force." The media narrative. A few hours later, an official spokesman gave a controlled briefing to the press. Authorities have arrested the primary suspect in the B7 route school van attack case. All operations were conducted according to law, and evidence will be presented in court. The news spread across the country, but Ibrahim knew the real aim was not just the arrest. It was to prepare a case that would stand as an example for years to come. It was morning, but outside the courthouse there was extraordinary commotion. Media vans, reporters with microphones, and crowds of people had gathered to witness the first hearing of this historic case. Police and military personnel were stationed on both sides of the gate. Everyone knew that today the primary suspect, Kilo, and his insider Hyena would be presented in the B7 route school van attack case. Inside the courtroom, the judge sat on the bench. At the prosecution table sat the team from the command room, including Kabor and Somme. Ibrahim Traore, as a special witness, was in the back row, but his presence alone sent a message to everyone that this case was the state's priority. When the suspects were brought in handcuffed, camera flashes went off repeatedly. Kilo kept his gaze lowered, but Hyena kept looking around as if searching for an escape route. Presentation of evidence, the prosecutor began. This case is not merely an attempted attack. It was a direct threat to our children's lives. Today, we will present to the court all evidence that indisputably proves these suspects' guilt. First evidence, body cam footage showing Sum's team arresting Hyena at the warehouse. Phone in hand and the call live. This footage was played on the big screen in the courtroom. Silence fell over the hall. Only the recording's audio could be heard. Second evidence, drone video showing the explosive device installed near the manhole cover and the live trace of a nearby motorbike. The video demonstrated how the decoy convoy lured the enemy out and how the EMP pulse disabled the device. Third evidence, DSP logs and cell tower data presented with explanation by Kabor showing burner phone signals, location history, and calls from Hyena to Kilo within the same time frame. Fourth evidence, mobile money transactions, a timeline of suspicious fund transfers across 5 wallets, showing the heartbeat pattern that appeared before every operation. Fifth evidence, DNS leak report showing that Kilo's true location behind the VPN was a safe house near the border. The suspect's expressions changed as each piece of evidence was presented. Sweat appeared on Hyena's forehead, while Kilo at one point requested water. Their lawyers tried to question the credibility of the VPN and audio, but deepfake analysis, financial timelines, and live arrest footage weakened their arguments. The judge stated, "This court decides based on a chain of evidence, not emotions. The evidence presented clearly shows that these individuals are involved in criminal conspiracy." The next step, the court ordered both suspects remanded and instructed the prosecution to present the charges with complete evidence at the next hearing. After this ruling, the court was adjourned. Outside, the reaction of the public and media was immediate. Reporters surrounded Ibrahim Traore. One asked, "Mr. President, how do you view this case?" Ibrahim replied in a steady tone, "This is not just an arrest or a case. It is a message that the state will never compromise on protecting its children. We will win this battle through law and evidence so that future generations know how justice is upheld." Announcement of reforms. That evening on national TV, Ibrahim addressed the nation. "We defeated the enemy not with bullets, but with law. But this incident has taught us the need to strengthen security further." He announced 4 key reforms. 1. Smart brake checks and mandatory panic beacons for all school vans. 2. Permanent RF sniffers and ANPR systems on national highways. 3. A need-to-know policy for sensitive route information to prevent insider leaks. 4. A reward program for reporting suspicious activity with guaranteed anonymity. Special mention of Zainab. At the end of his speech, he singled out Zainab. "A small hand stopped a major tragedy. Zainab, you not only saved your own life, but also the lives of your friends and many children in this city. We all owe you." The moment this statement aired on TV, it went viral across the country, and Zainab became a symbol of bravery and quick thinking. The following day, a simple yet emotional ceremony was held in the auditorium of the Central Hospital in the capital. Outside, the scent of flowers filled the courtyard. Inside the hall, soft lighting highlighted a large screen displaying photos of the school van children. Parents, teachers, nurses, ambulance drivers, and the local shopkeepers who had first helped during the incident were seated in the chairs. The ceremony began with the national anthem. After that, a short video was played showing the B7 route, the van stopping, public assistance, and then glimpses of the operation from the command room all the way to the border. Attendees' eyes stayed fixed on every shot. This was not just a story. It had become a personal memory for everyone. Silence filled the hall as Ibrahim Traore entered, dressed simply yet with dignity. He took the microphone and said, "These honors are not only for those who were in the field, but for everyone who, even for a moment, thought that saving another life is more important than their own." First, he called the van's driver, Uncle, to the stage. Applause rang out as Ibrahim presented him with the Alertness Award, saying, "If you hadn't stopped the vehicle at the roadside, we'd be telling a very different story today." Next, the volunteer nurse who had treated the children on site was called and awarded the First Response Medal. Then the local shopkeepers who had provided water, clothes, and shade were called and given civil bravery certificates. Zainab's moment. The lights dimmed slightly, and her picture appeared on the screen. The moment she pressed the panic beacon. Ibrahim smiled and said, And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Zainab, in a white dress with blue ribbons, holding her mother's hand, came onto the stage. The entire hall stood, clapping, while cameras flashed from every side. Ibrahim bent slightly before her, placed a beautiful civil bravery medal in her small hands, and softly said, "You fastened your seatbelt, checked your friend's seatbelt, and pressed the beacon on time. You've shown us that bravery is not about age. It's about the heart." Zainab shyly nodded. Tears welled in her mother's eyes, but she smiled proudly. Some children in the audience whispered to their parents, "We will always wear our seatbelts too." Using the moment, Ibrahim added, "These honors are not just medals, they are responsibilities. Every citizen, whether driver, teacher, parent, or child, may get a chance to save a life. And this opportunity is never small. It is always precious." He continued, "The B7 incident reminds us that security is not only the responsibility of those in uniform. Society is safe when every individual is vigilant." The ceremony ended with all awardees standing together on stage for a group photo. In the picture were the driver, the nurse, the shopkeepers, and in the middle, Zainab, the smallest yet the greatest hero of that day. As parents left the hall, they smiled at their children. Some children said to themselves, "We will help someone too someday." The media covered the moment extensively, and Zainab's medal became the headline in newspapers the next day. Ibrahim's final words as he exited the hospital were brief. "This story isn't over. It marks the beginning of a new journey, in which every citizen must remain prepared to protect their city, country, and children." Evening had fallen. Outside a school in the capital, parents and children were gathered as usual, but the atmosphere was different that day. In the school parking lot stood a brand new school van with a prominent sticker on the windshield, "Smart Brake Checked, Panic Beacon On." This was not just a vehicle. It was the first practical step of the national campaign launched after the B7 route incident, named Para Sabka, Everyone's Watch. Under this campaign, every school van, bus, and transport vehicle was mandated to have a brake check certificate, a panic beacon, and an annual security audit. Public response. Parents asked drivers gathered around their vans, "How does this beacon work? What's the backup if the signal fails?" The driver smiled and explained, "It is directly connected to the command room. And yes, now each van has 2 backup power units as well." Seeing this, an elder remarked, "This is the trust we needed." Local initiative. In the B7 route neighborhood, the same shopkeepers who had given children water and clothes during the incident now placed buckets of water and first aid kits outside their shops every evening. They also posted a small sign, "Help available if needed, free." Nearby, parents had formed a volunteer road guard group. They stood on school routes in the mornings and afternoons, managed traffic, watched for unknown vehicles, and checked in with van drivers. Command room routine. On the other side, the command room had also adapted. Every evening, some completed the operation log and prepared the next day's school route checklist. Kabor checked system locks, and Falcon uploaded her field reports. This routine had now become a new standard. Ibrahim Traore often visited the command room in the evening, walked around, and checked on each team member. He knew that this watch was no longer just an operation. It had to become a habit. Meeting Zainab. That day, he left the command room and reached the hospital corridor where Zainab and her mother had come for a routine checkup. Zainab appeared more confident than before, holding the same medal she had received. Ibrahim bent down and said, "This medal wasn't one just for you. It was one for all of us." Zainab smiled and said, "Uncle, now our van has a beacon too. I told the driver how to press it." Hearing this, a proud smile appeared on Ibrahim's face. National message. A few days later, a national TV advertisement aired. Zainab sitting in the van, fastening her seatbelt, checking her friend's seatbelt, and looking at the camera saying, "Belt, beacon, bravery, this is everyone's watch." The phrase quickly became popular among the public. From school children to bus drivers, everyone began repeating it. Future resolve, a new awareness spread across the city. People realized that state security is not just the responsibility of government institutions. It is the role of every citizen. The B7 route incident had been a serious threat, but it also provided an opportunity. a small girl became a hero, and the whole country became more vigilant, organized, and united. Final scene. In the evening, white flowers were placed outside the school van. A light rain began, as if washing the city's dust away. The same shopkeepers along the roadside, closing their shops, smiled and said to each other, "Today, too, all children reached home safely." In the command room, the lights dimmed. Some completed the final checklist, Kabor locked the systems, and Falcon blended into the crowd outside. Ibrahim Traore, watching the raindrops from the window, softly said, "The watch continues, and it will continue."